No homecoming parade for Sergeant Bo Bergdahl and threats of impeachment for the president. Good evening. I'm Mark Martin.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. As criticism over the release of Sergeant Bo Bergdahl grows, the Obama administration tells lawmakers it didn't notify them in advance because the Taliban had threatened to kill Bergdahl if the deal was made public. Some are also questioning whether Bergdahl and his father sympathized with and even converted to Islam. Heather Sells has our top story.
There will be no hero's welcome in Haley, Idaho for Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. The town has been swamped with hate mail and angry calls labeling him as a traitor. The Taliban captured Bergdahl in 2009 after he walked away from his unit unarmed. The Army is reviewing the circumstances surrounding his capture and says it will make no judgments until it has the facts.
I think a bit unfair to Sergeant Bergdahl's family and to him to presume anything.
But many are raising questions based on the facts so far. In this video released by the Taliban, it is clear that U.S. Special Forces that retrieved Bergdahl took extraordinary precautions. They patted him down to check for explosives, and their straight arms indicate their weapons were concealed. Meanwhile, a Washington Post story reveals that many of Bergdahl's father's friends wondered over the years whether his study of his son's captors led him to sympathize. It reports that Robert Bergdahl maintained he was just trying to ensure his son's release. But CBN News contributor and Middle East expert Raymond Ibrahim believes that both father and son converted to Islam. One telling sign, their beards.
The Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, counseled Muslims to grow their beards and clip their mustaches short so they don't look like Christians or Jews. So if they're doing and following these mundane teachings, you can rest assured that other more important teachings, such as hostility for, even if it's just internal, the infidel and the non-Muslim, is also being upheld, because that's just logic.
There's also grave concern about the 5 high-risk Taliban detainees released in exchange for Bergdahl. It's why the administration briefed senators on Capitol Hill late Wednesday.
I believe the decision to release these prisoners put our country in jeopardy.
These are all high-level people. These are people that basically have the ability to go back and hit the ground running. So we're concerned about that.
Bergdahl, meanwhile, continues to recuperate at a U.S. military hospital in Germany. He is yet to make a phone call to his family in Idaho or speak in public. Heather Sells, CBN News.
David French with the American Center for Law and Justice joins us now with more on this story that still has the nation talking. David, Senator Lindsey Graham is threatening to impeach the president if he releases more Guantanamo prisoners without notifying Congress. Do you think that's possible or likely?
I don't know that it's possible, but one thing I do know is if he continues to behave the way he did in the Bergdahl deal, he's going to be continuing to violate the law. In fact, he's violated a law that he signed himself, and that's a very serious matter.
So will there be any kind of punishment for him? I mean, he broke the law.
Well, he's paying a high political price right now. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's getting difficult to find defenders of this deal, even on the Democratic side of the aisle, and key Democratic senators are outraged that they weren't consulted. They don't know why the president chose to break the law.
What do you think about the reaction of the nation? Is this a rush to judgment on Bo Bergdahl?
I don't think there's a rush to judgment. So far, there has been no evidence that he behaved honorably on the field of battle when he deserted, when he left his unit. In fact, all of the evidence is unanimous that he left his unit knowingly, voluntarily, which is a serious crime in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. I, like everyone else, am more than eager to hear contrary evidence. I'm more than eager to hear his side of the story. But so far, when you've had a dozen members of his platoon come forward, all with the same story, that tells us a lot. This man appears to have deserted, and we appear to have paid a high ransom to retrieve a deserter.
Many in the military are calling for Bergdahl to be jailed upon arrival in the U.S. What kind of legal action could he face?
Well, he could face a desertion charge, and that is a very serious crime. Leaving your brothers on the field of battle is a very serious crime. One, in fact, that has many times, hundreds of times in American history been punished by execution. I don't think that's going to happen here. But lest anyone think that what he did was something minor or insignificant, desertion is one of the most serious crimes in the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
All right, David French with the American Center for Law and Justice. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thanks so much for having me.